Since yesterday we were writing the triggers and apex classes, okay, to perform some kind of logic or some business logic it is, okay. Today what we are going to learn is how to test the test classes. Means what is the expectation of your business logic and what is the actual output is given by the your logic written in the apex clause or apex triggers, that we have to test it. Okay, to test the business logic automatically we have the concept called test class. The logic, whatever it is written in the apex classes or apex triggers, to test that logic automatically whenever you are deploying the changes to other environments like UAT or production something, you need to run the test classes to verify the expected and actual values. Okay, then what is a code coverage? Let's say if you have written 100 lines of code, you have to test or at least 75 lines in the apex clause or trigger. Okay, the minimum or so the minimum code coverage should be 75%. According to Salesforce, 75% is the code coverage. Okay, we have a lot of concepts how to test the asynchronous apex, how to test the, and there is another thing called test setup. Okay, test setup, and then is test annotations. So these two are the very much important annotations at the rate of test setup or at the rate of is test. Okay, then let's go ahead and write some test classes to test the logic. Okay, so test class should have, I hope you understand this. So test class should be annotated with at the rate of is test. Okay, first point. And then test method also should be same, should be annotated in at the rate of is test or test method keyword. Mostly we'll be using is test. Okay, so test method should have at least one asset, at least one system dot set, to test the actual and the expected output of the method. Okay? So there are another thing should be avoided, writing the, or should be avoided, hard coding values should be avoided, hard coding IDs, ID values should be avoided. Even this best practices will be applicable for triggers also. Right? Avoid using C or data equals to true.
Hello.
In yes,
If how you people joined again, I am not able to join.
using C or data equals to true. Okay, then instead use test setup. Okay. So these are the some important points, and there is another thing called one important you have to learn. Test dot start test. Test is a class, and test dot start test. These two are the two methods, and there is another thing called 7 test dot run as. Okay. These are the some kind of things. Okay. So you should test with some user specific mode also. That's very important. Okay. So let's write some lines of code and test that. Okay. We'll see the thing like have already have let's say calculator is the class what we have created first, right? Okay, so let's write the test class for this one. Okay, see this, if you see this code coverage none means no code is tested by using the apex classes. No code is tested. See this. Okay. Now, how to write the test class? For each and every Apex class or Apex trigger, we should create a separate class called test class with the naming convention. So you can give class name, then test word. Okay, this is not mandatory. You can give any name like calculator testing or whatever the name you XYZ. You can give any name, but to identify the test process and actual process, it is a best practices to give the name as class name, then appending with the test word. Okay, so this one. Now, when you open calculation, right? See this calculation class is there as well as calculation test will be shown here. If you give something with XYZ, you cannot identify the actual and test classes until you go through the code in the test class. Okay, so once you write this class, you have to annotate with is test. This is called annotation. Annotation means at the rate symbol will be there. After that, the word will be there. Here is test. What this annotation will do? When you annotate the class with this keyword like is test, then it says that this is a test class. Okay, this is a test class. So it does not require the code coverage here. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, fine. Now we have to write the test method. Class means you should have a method. So what you're going to test, let's say if you want to test add method. Okay, so then you have to give add test means method name, then test name. See this test methods should be, let me test method should be test method should be static and void. Test method should be static and void means don't need to worry about this. See this static void then method add test, and there should be no parameters. Very important. And no parameters to the test method. No parameter should be passed to the test method. Here, add test. And again, one more important thing is you can give like test method keyword, test method keyword. This is also test method. And the latest way is you can just simply you can give like is test. Okay, so this is you can have a private method, means by default this is the private. You can give private method, or if you want to give public, that is also can be given. Okay, and one more important thing is these test methods cannot be called from outside the class, means you cannot call these test methods. This will be always the private and cannot be accessed outside the class. Okay, fine. Now let's test this one. Okay, same code. How we are going to test this one? So see, let's say as this is the instance method, you have to create a object first, right? Calculation, what you can see, calculation, C equals to new calculation. Okay, this is one way. This is the one constructor you can write, or you can have another constructor like you can pass two values, calculation 50 comma 70. The first line is done. How we are going to call c dot add of, that's it, c dot add. Then as this is returning something, we need to give like integer result equals to c dot add, right? Now here result will be given. The same code we are going to write. How you are going to call those methods, same logic you are going to write in the test class as well. See this? Okay. Now calculation C equals to new calculation of 50, 70. And then C dot add. We are getting the results. Now as we are giving the result, like add A plus B, this will be addition, right? 50, 70. 120 will be results, right? So here, how to add a set? As I'm saying, the system asset one, at least one system dot asset should be there. So how to add this? System dot set. Okay, if you see this, there is asset equals any expected value, any actual value. Okay, now here, or you can give condition. Okay, let me check this one. Okay, what you have to do is 120 equals to result. You can give like this, means this is inside if condition. If 120 equals to result, then system asset will be true. If it fails, it will throw the error. Again, I'll give another thing, system dot asset. Let's say if I give condition equals to 130 equals to result, then what message should be thrown, right? Result is not matching. You can give like this. And again, one more thing, system dot asset, all are the same. Expected, what is the expected results? 120 is the expected. What is the actual result came? That will be in the result one. Okay, so now here at line number 9, asset is like 120 equals to results. We know that C dot add means this logic will be given the addition of these two values, 50 plus 70 will be 120. What will be the value in the result variable? It will be 120. 120 equals to result. Then this asset will be true. And another one in the second asset, we are given 130 equals to result. So we are expecting 130, but actual result will be 120. Means it will be, this will be failed. So it won't go to the next line. Okay, let's try this. And when this is completed the execution, you can see whether it is failed or success in the tests tab in the downside of the developer console. You can see which method is failed, add test is failed. If you open that, it says that system.asset exception, asset failed at line number 10. See, calculation test, add test line number 10. Go ahead and see this, line number 10. This is failed. Okay, so asset is means failed. And see, open what it is saying. See, the message is result is not matching. Okay, this is how you have to write the test methods. Now here let's give 120. Okay, now so I've given the exact number like 120 equals to results and 120 equals to result is not matching and everything. So now the result will be 120 and output also 120. Expected is 120 and actually it's also 120. Let's test this one. See this? As the expectation and everything is correct. Okay, so that test class is passed. Now you can see the code coverage of actual class. Actual class is calculation. Okay, just go ahead and see all tests. What is the percentage? 50% is done. So what is not covered? This constructor is not covered, and then sub method is not covered. Multiplication is also not covered. Right now here you see that let's add something like another method to create the series. Whatever you have called, this is calculation, this constructor you have called, so this construction is covered, and then add method you have called, so add method is covered, and others subtraction and multiplication is not covered because those are not called inside the test class. Okay, now let's write another one. Let of is test static void subtest. I hope you understand what is a test method and how it should be. Okay, now let's create same like calculation C to new calculation. Okay, now C dot C, another important. Now you can say C dot what is this subtraction. Okay, so as you have not given any value here, see this, not given any value, right? And here, if you see, you have already tested add test, right? Now you have to test sub test. Then what you can do is go to test menu in the test tab. There you have new run, right? So always run asynchronously, new run, rerun, fail test, run all. Okay. So here run all means all tests will be run, means all test classes will be run. Then uh, rerun fail test means it rerun the failed test methods when you completed the test execution. Okay, so this is what it does. Rerun means previously whatever it is run, that can be rerun for verification. So here select new, the test classes will be here. What you are going to test? Subtest. Select run. You can see this is failing. Why it is failing? You can see this. Attempt to null pointer exception. at line number. You can see that line number. Calculation sub line number 25. But see this actual class is calculation. Method is sub line number 25. Go to that calculation and then line number 25. A minus B. This is null pointer expression because we have not given any value to A and B. So give that C dot A equals to 100, C dot B equals to 50. Okay. Now, what is the result of subtraction? Result A minus B, right? Is there. Result equals to sum. Okay. Now here, just add system dot asset. Okay. Can give expected and actual. So what is the expected? 100 minus 50. 50 will be the expected because subtraction method will do that logic. And then what is the actual result? Okay, subtest. Now here there is another thing, multiply. Okay, let's go and test that one as well. And one more thing is you can write, you can call the same method here as well. Just do the thing, c dot multiply. Okay, here also you can call and you can see this integer multiply. I'm giving this like this, c dot multiplication. You can give system dot asset. So what is the expectation? 100 into 5, 50, like 5,000. See this? What is the expectation? This is the expectation. And what is the actual results? MUL. Just give this. Okay. Now everything should be covered. Just run. Just run this test class entirely. See this? This is success. Okay. Now go to the calculation class. How much percentage? This is 100% covered. Okay. So debug statements will be ignored. Debug statements will be ignored. Okay. So now one more important thing. See this? If it is private, okay, if variables or methods are private, let's say private, okay, how to test those private methods and private variables inside the test class? When you execute this, see this is failed and it will be saying that method is not visible. We have already seen this. When it is saying that method is not visible, then you have to make it public. But so actually I'm planning like it should be the private. Then what we need to do is test visible. This is important. When you say this test visible, when you annotate a method or a variable with the test visible, then it means you are exposing this method or constructor or variable to be available with the test classes and test methods. Says it will throw some other error. Is this variable is not visible calculation dot a. Go ahead and declare them as test visible again. Annotation should be before the line of declaring the variable or method definition. Okay, just now go ahead and test. See this is success. Okay, so when you want to access the private methods or private variables from the class, then you have to annotate that with test visible. I hope you guys understand that. Okay, any questions on this, guys? can test all the class in one single test method, but better to write separate methods for each and every method in the class. So that can divide the, that will be very easy to maintain the test classes. Next time when you update any logic inside the class, you might need to update only one method inside this class and others won't affect. Okay, that would be the best practice. Any questions, guys, on this?
No, Anji.
Any doubts? Pratik, yeah, any other guys? This is very, very important. Test classes are very, very important. Okay, let me go ahead and write on the test class for triggers how to do this. Okay, this is for one class. See this, always classes will be ending with APXC. Okay, try to understand that. APXC. APX means apex. C means class. Okay, APXC means apex class. See, if I give asterisk dot APXC, then all apex classes, maybe it is interface or whatever it is, will be displayed here. Okay, if we give APXT, then apex triggers will be opened. Apex triggers. Okay, now let's go and write a small test class for triggers. Okay, let me take it as student trigger first. What is very simple? Let's see is all. Okay, so let's handle this one first. Okay, we have training trigger. So what it is doing, whenever the record is getting updated and if the course name is changed, it is throwing the error, right? So when you want to test this one, what you need to create one record of training first. Then when you create that record, and after that you have to change the course name and need to update the record. Then this will throw the error. Then this line will be covered. Okay. So what is test? Testing means you have to verify the functionality however you are doing at UI. Let me check this. Let me show you how it works. So where are trainings? These are trainings. Okay. First, we should have one record already, right? And after that, the record name should be changed. Something .NET 1222 something. I'm changing this error. Then it will throw the error, right? This is the expectation, right? If it does not throw the error, then it will be failing the actual trigger logic. So how to test this logic? Let's go and test this one. Okay. So here, go and write trigger test. So this is the actual class. This is the, don't by hand the code, try to understand and write the class. Okay, so I'm going to write the test, right? Training trigger. Training trigger test. Okay, so trigger should have at least 75% code coverage. Apex clause is not mandated to have 75%, but Apex trigger should have at least 75%. Because organization-wide code coverage should be 75%. How can we see organization-wide code coverage? If we open this test, here code coverage will be displayed. What is the percent now? 14% is the code coverage. Now let's write the trigger code coverage like Apex training trigger test or the rate of is test. Okay. Now here, if we use C or data equals to true. Okay. What is this C or data equals to true? There is not a best practices. You should not use this C or data equals to true. Okay. So what it does is actually whatever the records you are creating, let's say, let me show you this first. This, let's say, data is test static void course name change test. Okay, this is what we are going to do. Okay, now if you see that, let's write and do one thing. I'm going to write one SQL query. Okay, what is this? List of trainings underscore C trainings equals to select ID comma name, or let's say course name, right? C from training. Okay, so if you see that we have lot of training records, right? We have lot of training records. Course name is not found. Okay, so we have a lot of records, but when you run the test class, it throws the error. See this? What it is throwing the error? Oh, it's not giving an error. Okay, so let's see the list of records. System dot set means trainings dot size should not equals to 0. Means training records we are querying. If you see that query editor, how many records we are having? See this, we have 30 records, right? Here also it gives the 30 records. It should give the 30 records. Now try this. This is failed. Okay, system asset failed, right? So means, say this. See, if you see using this one, training.size, so this will be giving some kind of uh, irrelevant thing. Just it says that asset failed, but it doesn't say what is the actual and what is the what do it. Okay, so we are expecting 30 as the size because we have 30 requirements, and see that. Set equals to what we have to use. Set equals. Save it. Okay. Now if you try this, it will be failed, and you can see the results. What is that? Asset failed expected is 30, actual is 0. Okay, that means no records are visible to the test classes. Okay, if you see this is test, then no records in the database will be visible to the test class. See all data equals to true. Now what it does is when you say see all data equals to true, then this all records will be available in the test class. Now if you see this is success. Okay, so if you change something in the trainings, okay, in the test class, if we change something, it won't be saved into the database. Even if we create some records in the test classes, those records will be deleted once the test class execution completed. Means those test data will not be available. Okay, and there is one more thing. You can have something like at the rate of test setup. This also like static void set test data. Giving like this. Now if you save, it will throw the error because test class cannot be annotated with is test cr data equals to true. So initially we have given this one, there is no error, but now it is giving because test setup and cr data true both should not be used at a time. Both should not be used at a time. It is remove this, and then if you save it. Okay, now let me create one training record. Insert new training _ cd. Okay, what is the value? Course name equals to test and what are mandatory fields? Start date is required, right? Anything else is required? No, start date is enough. So status is there. If you want, you can give the status as well. Okay, so to understand that, go ahead and see this status equals to started. Then it is required start date equals to system dot today. I'm giving today as the start date. Now, if you execute this, again this will be failed because you are expecting 30 records, but as you do not have the CR data equals true, then records from the database won't be available for the test class. Means pre-existing data. We used to call that as pre-existing data in the Salesforce database will not be available for the test classes if you don't have CR data equals to true. Now, so when you write test setup, then test setup means you can write once the records, I mean, you can create or the records once, then these records will be available for all the test methods, whatever you have written inside the test class. Okay, better to use test method, test setup method if you want to create records inside the test class. Okay, now, so what will be the records visible? Only one record which is created inside the test setup. Already existing records will not be displayed, will not be available. See this. As you have created only one record, I'm giving one. If you have created 10 records, you can give 10 as this. Okay. Okay. This is success. Okay. Previously, if you see this, it was failed. 30, actual was 1. Okay, so this is just how to test this. Now we have to see this. How the trigger is tested? 25% is triggered, covered, because so here the condition will always be checked, right? You have not updated yet. Have not updated any record. Just try this. Update training record. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get only one record. Series training T. Okay, so I'm removing this because I don't want this assertion. I need to test different logic. Okay, now execute this. Success. Now we have to test. Just update the T. Update T. Okay, if you execute this, till now it was coming till that condition. Now if you see 75% code coverage. Okay, how come it is? As you are updating, even it is dummy update, it will come here and see these lines are covered. Okay, because you are updating. So after update, it is coming here and it's trying. Now to test this one, course name should be changed. Then only old and new versions will be different. Okay, so what I'm going to do, t dot course name to test course. I'm giving some different. Okay, it will be failed. This is negative case, right? Just see this. It will be thrown error, right? It is not failed actually. It is throwing the error. So this is what our expectation also. This validation rule should be changed. I mean, should be thrown when you are updating the course name and the training record. Okay, so for that what you need to do is to test the validation rules, you should give try like this and update the records inside the catch, try back, then catch exception E. Okay, now here system dot set. Okay, so here where will be the message? E dot get message dot contains. Use this. Okay, so here it will throw the error first thing, that is fine. So what is this try and catch? Means whatever the failures we are expecting, like update failed, insertion failed, whatever it is, whatever the errors it is throwing here, these errors, if you want to test, then logic code should be inside the try and catch blocks. Okay, this means if something is failed, what it should be done. This is called exception handling. Okay, I'll explain this later, but for now, just try this. Now execute this. See this success and see the code coverage here 100%. Okay, 100% is the code coverage. This is how you have to write the test methods and test clauses for the trigger. Okay, so any questions on this, guys? No questions? Okay, try from your end. Let's see something different. This is not required. Account trigger. Okay, we have this many records. Okay, sorry, we have this trigger